This from CBS Sport. Win totals for every AFC North team, over-unders. So the Ravens, they have over-under 11.5. Bengals over-under is 10.5. Steelers over-under 8.5. Browns over-under is 8.5. Browns struggles defensively on the road are a red flag for consistency in 2024. Browns drastically outperformed their win differential, went 6-2 in one-score games last year. They profile as a prime step-back team, especially if you don't want to believe in Watson finding his old Houston form. Will Brinson pick under 8.5. He also went over with the Ravens and Bengals. So Ravens over 11.5, Bengals over 10.5, and under with the Steelers at 8.5. Casey, I'd be surprised if they only win 8. So he's saying they're only going to win 8 games. That would surprise me. That there would have to be some significant regression. Here's the thing about their defense. Do you think Jim Schwartz is a good defensive coordinator? If you do, he's going to figure out a good portion of what ails them.
Yeah, I would hammer the over at 8.5. I view 9 wins as the basement of this team, which, I mean, that'd be disappointing if they were to go, 9-8. I think that's a disappointing season based on where this roster is at. We heard that first segment. PFF thinks this is the best roster in football. And to me, you see that they were 6-2 in one-score games, and that is an indicator of a team that's due for a setback. But I would also argue that was why they were decimated in injury. They were 6-2 in one-score games, and if they had anywhere close to the full complement of players, those probably aren't one-score games for the vast majority. So unless they experience a similar injury trajectory as they did last year, I think that by itself should raise the expectations for the win totals to be double digits. It's going to be the popular thing to doubt the Browns, and they're going to cite Watson as being the thing, and they're going to keep saying this Houston form. I think it's time to scrap all that. He's going to be a different version. This is a different offense. This is a different cast of characters. He doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting like he had to do in Houston because of the players he has around him. It's a team effort. I do, the road woes on defense, that was concerning, but they've had an entire offseason. And I have to trust that Mike Vrabel, being part of the coaching collective overseeing some of these things, is able to crack a code or two with Schwartz and figure out the reason they were coming off on slow starts and getting caught, on the back foot on the road. Because if they just tweak one or two things and this defense learns to travel, that's a scary proposition for opposing teams.
Well, if you want to point out that they're 6-2 in one-score games, I'm going to point out they were 8-1 at home. That's the sign of a really good team. You can't come into their place and win. Half of the games are at home.
Yep. They have that built-in factor, and hopefully they're able to keep that going because what the defense was able to do at home was absolutely stellar. And if they can keep that kind of momentum going and just you still 1 or 2 more games on the road, then I think no matter what, you're looking at minimum a 10 to 11 win team.
That's kind of the sweet spot that I have it at. I think when you look at the roster, I think it's better than a 10 or 11 win team. When you look at what they have to do to get to 10 or 11 wins, I think that's probably just it's a brutal schedule, really good quarterbacks that you're facing. So I think 10 or 11 is kind of where they're going to end up. And I think the same thing. I don't think there's any way anybody in the AFC North wins 12 games. I would be shocked.
Yeah. Same here. Like you said, it's a brutal schedule, and it plays out different for each one, but the Browns have to stack a bunch of wins in the front half so that they can go in the back half. We've discussed how brutal the final 5 games are. So you got to just aim to be 3-2 when you get to that point, and trust that you've given yourself enough wins by the time you get to that portion. That 3-2 is enough to get you to the postseason.